When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast equivalent of tripping into traffic.
Wait, like, when you said tripping, I thought like on mushrooms?
Oh, well, tripping while you're tripping into traffic. Sure. That's probably even better analogy.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
And we're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today we're going to talk about a different kind of intersection altogether.
Wait. Traffic
goes through intersections. We're going to talk about intersectionality.
All right. I guess so. Sure. The intersection of shrooms and drunk. That's yes, no, but like the different kind of intersectionality. And we're actually going to have some guests on
We're going to have some guests on.
But first,
oh, Reynolds. He likes intersectionality.
Well, he's a dog and he's black. I can't keep that in. Nope.
But first, the news?
But first, yeah. Oh, wait. Okay. No. Before the news, I just wanted to mention, we missed this like when it was happening real time, but we hit over 1 million downloads recently.
Yeah, we've had 1 million downloads. That's too many zeros for me to think about, Kyle. I will freak out.
I think one person is just act like really bored or something.
Yeah, how many of those are my mom?
500,000. Anyway, thanks for downloading stuff, everyone. That's a big number to us. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And when you think about how much money per hour we make,
very poor investment on our time.
Oh goodness! Okay. No, it's super awesome and overwhelming, and thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now the news.
And now the news. So, great.
I could tell you were going into it, and then I started burping, and okay, sure, that was the theme song for this week.
Great. So I want to talk briefly about professional soccer or British football, but there's this interesting thing. Justin Fashanu. He was the first professional player to come out as gay in the UK, and he actually committed suicide in 1998. And among other things like toxic masculinity and a toxic sport, he basically was the last one to come out.
I didn't know about him. Wow.
Fast forward 22 years or whatever. There have been now, just in the last year, a couple of major league footballers that have come out. Thomas Beattie became the second English player to come out as gay just this June. And it has sort of prompted all of these discussions to happen.
Snowballed?
Yep. The whole soccer team snowballed. Oh, God. Okay. Anyway, so I think it's super interesting that an anonymous letter published in The Mirror, which is a publication, a person claiming to be a player in a top-ranking football league team says he is gay and doesn't know how to come out. So he wrote, quote, "I am gay. Even writing that down in this letter is a big step for me, but only my family members and a select group of friends are aware of my sexuality. I don't feel ready to share it with my team or my manager. But still, something inside me makes it impossible for me to be open with them about how I feel. I dearly hope one day soon I will be able to. I've known since I was about 19 that I was gay. How does it feel having to live like this? Day to day, it can be an absolute nightmare, and it is affecting my mental health more and more." And it's
if any anonymous source was meant to be nicknamed Deep Throat.
Right? That's beautiful.
It's political and sexual. Gayish. That's That's an interesting move to not be ready to come out, but also I wonder if that'll help people recognize that in the existing world, someone's not ready to come out, so more has to be done.
I can see this going two different ways, right? And probably both at the same time is possible. One is now everybody in the league in the locker room looking at each other's dicks, wondering who the gay one is. Mm-hmm. Like a witch hunt, right? Like a gay witch hunt. Which of you?
Their dicks have the answer on it? Why are they looking at each other's dicks for that?
I just assume even straight guys, that's part of what they do in the locker room.
That's true. Just to see.
Yeah. Can you tell which one is the gay one?
Yeah.
Anyway,
covered in glitter.
But the other is that there will be this sort of affirming response, right? That the reaction to this letter will be, it's fine, bro, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Or enough people will say things like that publicly that he'll just then come out.
Well, I know, especially given the underrepresentation of LGBT people, a lot of the work that people are doing in sports right now is like making it a safe environment. It's not like there's no one to be like, hey, it's fine, look at this person, because there's not that person. So they're just like, we're cool, everybody.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. So, yeah.
Well, and then add to it this stigma of this Justin Fashanu person who like the last guy killed himself. That's not really a good role model or it whether true or not sort of implies that there are negative consequences, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if anything, it shows that everyone just assumes, or at least like more down, like most people, I feel like just, especially in the US, just assume it's cool now. Like, there's obviously always going to be a group of assholes, but most people are like, it's fine. Like you can come out. It's totally accepted, which is it's kind of good to have that misconception, but also really bad to have that misconception to not realize how horrible it can be day to day.
Yep. Kyle, I can very much hear your hand on your microphone.
Oh shit. Okay. I'll be still. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next story.
Yeah.
All right. So there is a growing push to rebrand the Chicago neighborhood to something other than Boys Town. As you may or may not be aware, the North Halsted neighborhood known as Boys Town is where all the faggotry happens. And
how official is Boys Town?
Like there are large banners with a rainbow iconography that say Boys Town, Chicago. They're all up and down Halsted Street. And it's official.
Got it.
So non-binary petitioner Devley Camp is calling on the North Halsted Business Alliance to rebrand to better reflect the city's diverse LGBT plus community, long dogged activists say by sexism, racism, and transphobia. And do you have a hot take on that? Should they rename themselves? Kyle gets yes or no.
Sure.
Great.
I feel like the initial reaction to a lot of these things is, why do we have to do that? But then my second thing is like, I don't care. This has no impact on me whatsoever. I was thinking Boys Town, like, let's not be so, like, at least Man's Town. Like, yeah, but like,
and it's not BOI's town either. It's BOY's town.
Fuckboy Town? I don't know. Like, I don't care. And in fact, if people in our community feel more included by changing that name, like, easy, done, do it.
Yep.
I'm just picturing the reactions, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reactions, of course, range from, it's Boys Town, it's always been Boys Town, stop trying to fucking change things, right?
Mm-hmm,
which, I don't know. Just because something is old does not mean it is good. Look at our president. So, I think if there is a counterpoint here, if there's something worth discussing here, I think it might be there are some people that advocate for gay bars, queer spaces to be something that we very much still need, because straight people have everywhere else, and we need a place that we can feel safe. Does that extend to like gay male spaces, right? Like, is it appropriate for a bar, especially or especially a sex place like a bathhouse, to be exclusively gay male or not? So I guess what I'm saying is Boys Town as a neighborhood, that's a slightly different scope, and I get that. But is it okay for there to be places that are for gay men only?
Sure.
And so what do you do about that, right? Like what if Boys Town is carved into like 6 different fiefdoms and one of them can still stay Boys Town, and that's where like the eagle is or something? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you can have gay male spaces, but you don't get entire towns of gays, like gay men spaces.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. I'm working on like the philosophical level, right? Because the argument is that there shouldn't be a neighborhood for gay men. It should be a neighborhood for the whole umbrella.
Yeah.
And yeah. I'm trying to pick that apart just like philosophically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I always think that these things tend to be like self-editing,
limiting?
Moderating? Nope. Self-moderating kind of thing. Like mostly if there's a gay men's bar and someone shows up that like let them in, it's cool. But like also they'll look around and be like, hey, this isn't my jam. This isn't for me. Yeah. Just like if I walked into a lesbian bar, hopefully I'm allowed and I can hang out. But also I'll be like, this isn't where I'm going to find the next dude I'm going to fuck. So like, you know, I don't know. I think you're allowed to like gay men can absolutely have spaces that are for them, but they're buildings, not their meeting rooms, their parades. They're not necessarily entire permanent city areas.
Yeah. Yep. I also think that this is going to be one of those things where they'll eventually change it, and to people of a certain age, it won't matter. Like they'll call it Boys Town forever, no matter what the fucking flag says, right?
Yeah.
Like I still call it Safeco Field. It hasn't been Safeco Field for years and years now.
And if they call it Boys Town, like that's fine. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So quarantine has been weird. COVID has been weird, but there are some movies that are far enough along in post-production that they're wrapping them up and they're trying to figure out how to distribute them. But like movies are still kind of happening, right? So there's one called Ammonite that is directed by Francis Lee, and it tells the story of real-life Victorian paleontologist Mary Anning. And
I'm already so bored.
I know. Shush.
Okay, sorry.
I'll get to the good part. Falling in love with a younger woman called Charlotte. And the movie is coming out soon, and the release has been delayed because of all of the shit going on. But the casting is Mary Anning is played by Kate Winslet, and Charlotte is played by Saoirse Ronan. And they have been very much in the news all throughout production of this thing. It's taken a long time. It started back in 2019 or 2018. But what I want to talk about is there's two things that are problematic about this, and one of them is more problematic than the other, I think. The first is that paleontologists are sort of upset that they are retroactively making this woman queer when there is evidence for that, but there's no slam dunk that says like, oh yeah, she was full on lesbo. And paleontologists also are pretty traditional and conservative and largely white men, and I think that they're in denial and only see what they want to see. And like this woman's this woman's contributions to paleontology, I think, are only palatable to them as long as she is as close to them as possible, and this further estranges them from identifying with her.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
But the number two, the one that I actually want to talk about, is those are two straight chicks. Two straight chicks playing lesbos. Why are we doing this again?
Yeah. I always think like if you're an up and coming actor, like you don't necessarily get to pick your parts. I mean, you audition for them, but like you don't get to be like, no, I'm not playing this person. I stand against it. Like, but when you're Kate Winslet, you get to make a statement by not playing those kind of characters. And she could have done that, and she didn't.
Yep. This is also in that space, though, of like, pick two random up and coming lesbian actresses. Does this film even get made, much less released, much less watched by people who need to see things represented?
Yeah, but then like that just perpetuates the like, at some point you got to have lesbian actresses. Like, so if you just keep putting straight people in there because straight people are the most popular, the straight people are going to keep being the most popular. So how do you like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would have been great if they said like every single extra then has to be a lesbian.
Yeah, right. Well, and to
you
your
have
point,
to eat out Kate Winslet in order to be an extra.
Kate Winslet, we're only okay with you acting in this role if you let your box get munched.
Honorary degree in lesbian.
I also think like you're going to need some star power there. A movie about paleontologist lesbians is probably not going to be a blockbuster if you don't get some heavy hitters in there.
I fell asleep halfway through your description of this movie, so that's true. Maybe we could give paleontology movies a pass.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan, whose name is fun to say now, Saoirse.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Saoirse Ronan is?
No.
She's Irish, Republic of, and is also a dual citizen. She lives in New York, so she's got American and Irish citizenship. And she's young, and she's beautiful. Would maybe bang even. And she's got a cool Irish accent, so that makes her even sexier.
I don't even know how to start spelling that name.
Yeah, it's Saoirse. So I think one of the reasons people don't know who
first and name ended and the second name started. Okay, I see her. Got it.
Saoirse.
Oh, nomination for 4 Academy Awards. Damn, 26-year-old Saoirse. Good for her.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the news.
Wow, that news sure was it was on fire like a bingo.
Oh yeah, great, good job.
Casual lead into Polari word of the week.
The Polari word of the week is pinko.
Bingo with a B, like
bingo.
Yeah, B as in bees.
Is that horrible dice game my mom used to play with her weird friends?
Plunko.
No, that's bunko. Okay. Yeah. What are you talking about? What is this Polari shit?
Bingo. I just picked the most random one. Bingo means a kerosene flare.
Bingo?
Yeah. It's from Italian. The etymology. It's from Italian. Bingo means white. I don't know how that relates, but
bingo.
So if you ever this is the really specific Polari words that one time you're going to see a kerosene flare and you're going to be like, I got this.
A kerosene flare? Like you've been in an automobile accident? You need to put a flare out? Or is this
there's very limited information in this Polari app that I have. I've relayed to you the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah. Well,
now,
great.
Down.
Okay. Great.
Cool. So I want to thank Patreon members. Is this where I do that?
Yep.
Thank you to Patreon members Scott McQuiston, Ben Hanchett. I think I should pronounce everything like we're French. That would make every name sound cool.
Zachary, is it Hanchett?
Yeah, which I think isn't that what I said at first. Anyway, Zachary Jacquish, James D.
Oh, I know that bitch.
Oh, really? Oh, hi.
I think so.
James D. And Timothy. Just Timothy. Oh, Timothy.
Great reference.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our Patreon members. If you want bonus shit and some merch and, other bonus shit, then go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Great. Yeah. Do it. Be it, love it, have it.
Be it, love it, do it, live it, life it.
There are now over 30 hours of bonus content over on Patreon that accessible at just the $5 level.
Wow. Damn. Thanks, Dan. And thanks to us for creating it. What do I...
God.
That's
why do you keep listening, people?
Man, that's so much of me talking. Do you want to talk about intersectionality?
Sure, let's talk about intersectionality. We're going to have some guests on. We're going to have Shana Summers and Kris Chesson, who are the hosts of Bad Queers. Yeah. And they're pretty intersectional.
Yeah, I think we picked the right guest to talk about intersectionality.
As near as I can tell, their show is the same as our show, but they're better because they're not white cis men.
Well, and that's a really amazing podcast name. I wish it reminds me of Be Gay, Do Crimes kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I do want to tell you one thing about intersectionality before we take a break.
I wanted to tell you things about intersectionality.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you go for it. You can top me.
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay, here we go. So I wanted to introduce the idea of intersectionality, which was established or kind of brought into light by Kimberly Crenshaw, who started coined the term over 30 years ago. She's a lawyer. It started as a legal concept. And it has been, there's this article on Vox that I really like that talks about the term and how it's been kind of taken and what people assume it means. It's an article by Jane Coaston from 2019. But it talks about how like a lot of right-wing people now hear that term and get defensive about it and think that we're trying...
Because they're fucking snowflakes, Kyle.
That's true. They're white snowflakes. Where they think that intersectionality is going to be used to flip the pyramid scheme and any non-cis, non-hetero, non-white person is at the top, which is a fundamental misunderstanding of what the... basically in this article, it talks about Kimberly is like, no, we want to do away with hierarchies altogether. If you're...
Yeah, you clearly don't understand how hard it is to be a white straight man in this country, Kyle. The most discriminated against group that there is.
I was one for 19 years, and it sucks. So maybe they have a point. The point, I mean, she says that if you get down to the root level, the idea, the concept of it is not... people don't argue with that. People have different experiences with, especially with multiple layers of, minority, whatever. So like a white woman's experience is going to be different than a black woman's experience. Like that's kind of the basis of it. And so she has a podcast, which I really liked the one about Stonewall. It's called, her podcast is Intersectionality Matters. And, there's an episode when the 50th year of Stonewall, they talked to my new favorite person, who's named Barbara Smith, the LGBT activist, feminist, black lesbian, who's incredible. So yeah, that's a great episode to check out.
Awesome. I won't, but I appreciate it.
Great. You still have that 30 hours of our content to listen to at patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
What did you want to say to me?
Most of what you just said, that it's the term has really only been around since 1989, and I think it's super important, though, that the whole thing was originated from wanting to talk about the stories of black women and how much more difficult it is for them in this society compared to white men or just women, white women, or black men. And the idea is that your blackness and your femaleness, you can't look at just one of those things and understand that person's experience. You have to look at the way that they combine. And that's that's sort of how this idea of intersectionality got started. And then, of course, it branched out into other things: race, gender, sex, sexuality, class, ability, nationality, citizenship, religion, body type, a whole bunch of stuff that I had never even really considered as being part of the kaleidoscope of things that makes a person up.
Yeah.
And
I think it's similar to like white privilege, where a lot of people get defensive about the idea because they feel like, oh, it's my life wasn't easy. I worked for what I had, blah, 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 which is all well and true. And you're right. Also, your life was a little bit easier because you're white. My life is a little bit easier because I'm a cis dude. My life is a little bit easier because I'm middle class. And
arguably because you are tall.
That's true. I could reach things on the top shelves, which has earned me plenty of savings at the store where they keep all their discounted items.
Did you know that there is a measurable difference in the upward mobility of people in their career for men based on their height? That taller men are elevated to positions of leadership at a rate that can't be explained by anything else other than their height?
Wow. No wonder I'm unemployed.
All right. We're going to take a break, and when we get back, we're going to have Shana Summers and Kris Chesson, the Bad Queers, from the Bad Queers podcast, to talk to us more about this.
Yeah.
So should we take a break?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back. I love it.
We're here with Shana and Kris from the Bad Queers podcast. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Okay, first of all, we're going to talk about intersectionality with y'all, but first of all, why Bad Queers?
Oh, Shana, you always explain so beautifully.
Let's get ready.
Shana has the bars. So.
Yeah, so we created Bad Queers as we were inspired by the L Word Generation Q, actually, that season finale. And so there was a scene where Alice was interviewing Roxanne Gay, but really it was like Roxanne Gay interviewing Alice on her show. And she was going through all of this personal issues and all of the stereotypical and non-stereotypical things that queer women tend to do. And she stops and she turns to Roxanne Gay and she's like, wait, am I a bad queer? And I stopped and was like, this is our podcast. This is it. But also, we both work at the Her app, and each of us are outward-facing versions of our jobs. Basically, Kris runs events, I run the community, and we always see people who are so worried about breaking stereotypes or that they've done something wrong and that they feel like they're a bad lesbian or a bad gay or bad anything else because they're not following these stereotypes that you fell into. So basically, we created Bad Queers to help people who came out of the closet and got put in a box of stereotypes that they don't belong to. We're opening up conversation for you to be an imperfect queer and to actually like be able to make fun of our LGBTQ plus alphabet. So that's kind of where Bad Queers came from.
That's awesome.
Right before the break, bringing you guys on, I said that it's basically our show, but better because you're not white dudes. So
yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. I think, there's a current conversation on just cancel culture and discourse being stifled and everything. And I think in some ways, and I just explained it this week on our podcast, that cancel culture is just accountability culture, and that's fine. I think they have to allow for nuance and growth, but I think it's fine to have these conversations. In the social media age, we've seen things kind of progress by having conversations, sometimes strong disagreements. So yeah, not everybody fits into what people think of as gay and lesbian and, just a queer community. And I think we also in the community have our biases and our different viewpoints. So yeah, we just want to highlight that. Like, it's not, a lot of people give us great feedback about just, okay, yeah, I didn't feel like I really kind of fit in. So yeah,
or they were like, oh, I didn't have this knowledge around something. And I felt like because I'm now in the queer community, I need to know all of the definitions and all of these identities and all of this stuff. Yeah. And there's so many people who are actively coming out and being like, oh my God, thank you. I honestly did not know what that meant. Thank you for explaining it in a way that we could take it.
We're working on phasing out the phrase, take away your gay card, which is the like, oh, you have not seen Steel Magnolias, or like some of the things are great to learn about, like other identities and everything within the LGBT. Like, but if you've never listened to Patti LuPone, like you're still fine. You don't need your gay card taken away. So it's like sometimes it's like learning things, but sometimes it's also just being like, I don't care about that, and that's fine.
And it's also it's funny for a moment because I mean there's a black card thing, like there's different cards around marginalized groups that we do, but I think we're kind of better accepting of just like language does evolve. So like it was cool then, it was cool for the times, and then now it's not, because I talked about it on our show. Like I am a gold star lesbian. I've never been intimate with a man, and I think I was like, I feel like we should stop saying that, because it's like a bit of like I'm better or I'm more gay because I didn't sleep with a man, and it's kind of like, okay, that's lame now. Like I don't.
Yeah, I was married to a woman for 5 years, so I like to say that I'm a lead star gay, and like I'm good with that. I wear it like a badge of honor. But
but no, I think that is something that I've stopped saying, and definitely noticed when other people say, like especially with gay men, it's like you're placing more value on the people that have had less interaction with women. That just like feels things. Okay, this is a good actually intersectionality. Hey, we can talk about that.
Great transition.
Segue.
If you just nail the topic and then start talking about it. Yeah, that's okay. So it feels a little bit different when I, as a male, reward myself for not interacting with, like having any sex or doing whatever with women.
Wait, is there a term?
That's just, well, this is still the gold star. Like we use the gold star.
Everybody's still a gold star. All right.
Yeah. I actually didn't.
I was about to be like plot twist. There's a whole other. There's a whole other definition.
No. Yeah, I actually didn't know lesbians use the gold star system as well.
Oh yeah. But we're taking top and bottom and all that now too. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Like we're taking top and bottom and verse and switch. Like. We like it. We are like I'm a top, but we did a workout series around sex positive things, sex positive workouts, and there was like a top, bottom, and verse. And I was like, I am a workout bottom, honestly.
Right.
I'm sexually a workout bottom. Like,
wait, what's workout mean? What's a workout?
No,
literally,
like a legit workout. But our fitness instructor had exercises specific to tops, and then
lots of thrusting areas, lots of hip focus, lots of glute work, where then you switch to the bottom and it's a bit more ab focus and things like that, like and it was very specific to that, and people loved it. It was great.
Then to actually start talking about intersectionality.
Can I throw this in there real quick?
Yeah.
We're just going to keep delaying the actual topic for like an hour. So, no. We started talking with you guys back in, I think it was May or early June. And that was at the height of all of the civil unrest going on, and Black Lives Matter. It was very much in the headlines all the time, George Floyd, et cetera. And one of the things that we talked about when we were lining this episode up was that people will need the reminder in July that we were worried that some of that would have cooled off, and that people would need to have another poke in the ass about all of this. Where do you think we are? Like compared to our conversation in June, do you think things have cooled off and that we need to do some stoking, or do you think it's been is it in the same place that we were a month ago? What's your take on all of that?
I don't know. What do you think, Shana?
From my perspective, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I definitely think so.
It was a lot of performative stuff with just seeing the corporations. It was kind of rainbow washing, but for Black people, with like the statements that are out there where it's like cool, but like this is an everyday thing. So like while I think that there's still demonstrations going on and we're still keeping certain injustices alive with Breonna Taylor and everything. There's a lot going on, but I think it's cooled down a little bit. It has, but it doesn't have to be on like 10 all the time. I think I just want people and white people to know like this will be an everyday thing, because it's an everyday thing for us. So like, welcome. But there's a lot of things like, people could take pieces out of this systemic racism and like remedy. Like we're going to need your help to undo this. And we need just more focused attention on it being intentional, laws and policies and society changing. So in education. So yeah, I think it's definitely calmed down, which was going to happen. But I think that there was a lot of great conversations and even just knowledge share out there during that period of time, it was great. I think,
for myself specifically, where the conversation has drifted into, where it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, we have Black Lives Matter. Amazing. But then we just had 4 cis Black men jump a Black trans woman who is fighting for their lives. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, as much as we need to look at, like, yes, we see Black Lives Matter movement. Not a lot of people even know that, like, 2 out of the 3 women who started Black Lives Matter are queer women. And their identities intersect with that. It's almost like there's a Black community, but then underneath that is like the Black queer community. And between Kris and I, like, we're Black queer women, and that intersectionality in itself is just like, so many people see that as 3 strikes against your identity. And so it's also been, I know, right? So it's been interesting to see how, when we switch the narrative to this being the first time that we're actively saying all Black lives matter, and then to hear the conversation from the white folks that are like, well, then why don't you just say that all lives matter? And it's like, no, Karen, they don't. Chad, you can sit down. And it's like, no, because the Black community also needs to have this reminder, which I think is the first time that we've really pushed for this narrative, is to be like, hey, you need to remember that Black trans people count, that Black LGBTQ plus people count, that Black disabled people count. Like, we need to be able to understand that. And it's not just around like another thing where we're taking it from the community that basically silenced us. Like, it's almost like we're going to follow what the white community is doing, which means that they raise up their cis white men. Yeah. And now it's like, oh, okay, well, now we're going to raise up our cis Black men. And it's like, no, everybody knows. I was like, Black women get shit done. So it's like, you need to be in all parts of society and all these things. And it's like, fuck the patriarchy and all these things. It's like, we need to raise up these voices, but it's also been such an interesting thing with the crossover and intersectionality of my identity to just sit and be like, man, I also feel like I have to like fight for my voice within the Black community as well as within the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's all been interesting in that, where I've been kind of leaning more towards like, no, I need to make sure that like Black trans lives are mattering. Yes, all Black lives matter. And I'm going to show up to the protests that support that narrative. And so that's been a whole new element that's sprung in there that I've noticed over the last month as well, because before it was just like a solid Black Lives Matter. And now we're just like, hey, we don't get to pick and choose which Black Lives Matter. Actually, it's like all of us as a group, we are there. We're fighting for you. So you need to also fight for us.
Yeah. Well, we say on the show quite a bit that there's like a checklist, right? There's the straight, white, cis, Christian, able-bodied man. Like, of those 6 things, like, you get maybe 1 before you start having like serious societal issues, and they're not all equal either, obviously. Do you think I'm hesitant to point it out, because there's a lot of white people that are like, well, Black people are killing Black people too, like that somehow fucking justifies anything. But are there some of those groups that are hostile to others of those groups, right? Like, I know that there's a problematic relationship between mainstream Black culture and queer people. Is that is there solidarity there that's building at last, or is it still a struggle?
It's a lot of conversations going on at the same time that have that we needed to have. So I think, and Shana explained it, but in between all of these things, like Toyin, I forget the name of the activist young woman who was murdered by a Black cis man, and she was out protesting for Black Lives Matter, but there was a conversation around that, like, in the middle of this. There's obviously been Black trans deaths in the middle of this. So it's like, even though there is always a divide of like, we're constantly trying to prop up the Black cis man in Black culture. Like, that's just what we've done and everything due to a lot of factors. So there's that conversation and that reckoning of like, you have, one side saying, hey, let's just focus on one thing, which would be the, kind of the Black male, cis male being led in this movement and propped up. But it's like, no, Black women are saying, no, like, there's violence between us. There's systems of oppression between us. And, Black queer people are like, hey. Also, and Billy Porter, communicating that, like, there's going to be that friction, but we're having the conversations now because it's just like, hey, they look at all of us as Black. Like, you know, like they're not like, oh, this Black queer person's fine, we're not going to bother them, or this Black rich person is fine, we're not going to bother them, or no, like we all are affected by the same thing. So it's like, we don't have to agree. Like, I'm not trying to change minds. Like, I don't need you to like my lifestyle, as you call it, but we also have to just get on the same page. Like, hey, it's all Black lives matter because all Black lives matter. And some of us don't know that or show that. And that has to be a conversation too. Like, it's like COVID has helped us all stay in and be like, let's just have these conversations across the board in a lot of areas. So I think that's going on definitely within the community. And, you know, I think it's going to push it forward and, you know, more understanding of like, okay, like you can't say that this isn't happening. Like if Black women are getting murdered in the middle of this, or Black queer people are getting murdered in the middle of this, then it's like, come on, like it's happening. It's been happening. Let's have the conversations about it. So yeah, I'm hopeful that it'll get better. And I think we know and have the history to see even within our diaspora, like we can't afford to not be united, basically. We just can't. So yeah. And I think us as the queer community, we've done that. So I've seen that groups can come together for a common cause, but of course, even in our community, there's different, communities within the community. So yeah, we're going to get on board. I'm hopeful of that. I think that's going to happen.
You hear that, Democrats? We can't afford to not be united.
Ooh-wee.
Like louder for the people in the back.
I know.
I feel like it was almost, obviously the situation that brought it was super shitty, but almost fitting that Pride was like the parades couldn't happen, the parties couldn't happen, or they shouldn't have happened. Because that to me is like, well, then what is Pride? And to me it was like, well, Pride is learning about all of these kind of issues, and something that I think about when you talk about the people that we prop up. You said the cis Black man, and I start to think about like, how do you take that person that we're propping up and use it to our advantage? And I learned a lot about like cis gay men who were like started to get some rights, and they were like, cool, bye, and then just like they could have done something with the fact that they were starting to gain acceptance. So it's all like, I feel like I want to learn from that and figure out, well, then how can we use the fact that cis gay men are the ones that get shown? Like, how do we use that to our advantage to help everyone else?
I think, again, continuing to just use your privilege to talk about the people who don't have that privilege. Like, it does, like, even in this time and in the last couple of years, I've recognized just my biases, even with the trans community, and just not understanding that, what they go through, and all that. And I think, yeah, it's only been because people constantly, and trans activists and people have been like, no, we're here. We're going to tell our stories, and, Pose comes out and it changes things, but just continuing to learn about that community, that's important. So that's like a good example of like, hey, like, it was Ryan Murphy and Janet Mock, like making sure that this is brought forward. You know what I mean? So it's use your privilege for good, use your power for good, like privilege is a power. So like all of us possess some sort of privilege. So just use it for good, to just point stuff out, because people really legit don't know, like, or they want to be ignorant. Like people don't want to, but when you call it out and you confront it and you use your privilege for good, it's like, it's good results every time. So,
yeah. So tell us a little bit more about, I want to hear about your experience specifically within the queer community. I'm trying to learn more about individuals' experience within the community, racism, sexism, all that stuff. So I'm curious, just, I don't know, broadly speaking, have you felt included? That's a really big question, but.
Oh yeah, no, but it's a good question, because probably in any part of our identity, I would say, and like Kris, feel free to like disagree, but I would say at some point, no. Like there are places where I've had like moments and flickers of those moments, but there's always some sort of underlying something. So both Kris and I are from Virginia. I'm from Northern Virginia. Kris is from Southern Virginia, as she mentioned. And that even whole scene and people and all of that is a whole different vibe to where we both are. We're both in the Bay Area, in California now. And so it's interesting to kind of see those floating differences. But the main one that I always stick to is how much cis gay men want to be a sassy Black woman. Mm-hmm. And the moment that I walk in, and I'm naturally sassy. So it's just like, that's part of my personality. But then it's like how much they just want to tune in to that. And it's almost just like, oh, you're doing the most here. Like, you're still, or like they'd make like one comment, I'd be like, haha, okay, like we can keep it moving, and then they continue, because then it's like when they're like in that presence, they're like, it's almost like that's how they feel like they need to communicate. And I'm just like, no, you can just talk to me like a person.
Do you feel like people turn it up when they're around you, when they
Absolutely.
see like, you are a sassy Black woman by
Absolutely.
nature?
It's like you have to outdo it, which is also just like a whole other narrative of like, why don't you just let me come in here and be me, and rather than you always having to feel like you have to one up me. Because you are either intimidated by this, or you want to have this attitude and sass and whatever else, or this confidence that we exude. So then they take it and put it to another level. But then when we sit and flip it on them and say, hey, actually what you're doing is actually making fun of this whole race and talking about all of these things, then they can't hold that accountability. They're just like, nah, girl, like I'm with you doing it. And you're just like, nope. And there's no like way to get into that. And I think, speaking back to rewinding a little bit to where you were mentioning, like, why didn't cis gay men at that time, like, take more people with them? Why didn't they advocate more? And it was like, because they had that brief moment of acceptance. They were like, yes, I am on this level. I don't want to ruin that. So I'm not going to do that. So they're like, I made it. I'm doing this. But yet they still try to argue that they're oppressed because they are gay. And it's just like, no, like you sit and like, we can have these conversations where it's like cis gay men, or cis white gay men have to like understand the fact that it's like there is racism prevalent in the LGBTQ plus community. And so many people try to ignore that. But I'm like, the amount of experiences I've had, even just going to like gay bars, like it became like not fun for me. Like I loved going to gay bars because the dancing was fire. But then I would sit and go back and like interact with people and do that. And I'm like, wow, we're really pushing past like my boundaries, where it's like, you feel like you can touch my butt. And it's just like the same thing with like if a straight guy came up and was like touching my butt, but they're like, no, it's fine because I'm gay and I'm not attracted to it. And I'm like, still my body, still my choice. Or the way that they would interact with me. And then I would have to like, if I was able to hang out with them later or do whatever, I'd have to like sit them down and be like, you need to stop. And they're just like, but it's fine. I'm like, but it's not cute. Like, I get it. I see where you're going. I know drag culture and this and whatever else. That's the way that you feel like you can connect. No. And then it's like also similar to being a woman. I'm more femme presenting when I go out. So then that's a whole other conversation. And so for me personally, it's like, not that every experience is terrible. It's just like, I know that at some point, one of those parts of my identity is going to have a negative interaction that night. Or at a party or at whatever. It's like at least one, and it doesn't have to always be big, but it's going to be there. And so that's where my personal experience goes to.
And how many of those guys would then sort of discount you as the angry Black woman instead of listening and doing the work and acknowledging what you're trying to say to them, right?
So many, because then they flip it and be like, okay, you're doing too much. And I was like, who's doing too much? I'm over here drinking my drink. Like, you know? And that's where it is. It's like, and that's also the thing where I have to think about, do I feel like arguing this tonight or not? Do I have the energy? Because some people will be like, oh yeah, well, you didn't say anything this time, but you did this time. And I was like, well, today I had time. Today I had the energy. Today I felt like it. Like, I can't do it all the time, because if I did, my energy would be spent every time I went out or was with a group of people or anything like that. So that's where it's like, do I want to just let you go off and be cool and not be seen as the angry Black woman or the sassy one or this? Do I need to like nail down my energy and all of this just so it can seem like a neutral and let them have their due? But then it's like, why do I have to numb down my personality to like be able to engage in a space that like you all have claimed, when it should be like all of our spaces?
Without justifying it at all, I sort of associate the like Black female sassy affectation that a lot of gays, cis white gays, present as being associated with drag. Like, that came through this lens of they're just emulating the personalities that they see in drag, like on RPDR, and like they've sort of absorbed that. But that itself is sort of co-opting culturally in the first place. Is that fair of me, or do you think I'm off base?
No, definitely on base, because if you think about a lot of things from Black culture, it is actually taken by white culture in so many ways. And like from music to dance moves to fashion to any like sort of like language and things like that. Like that's a thing that I think as a Black community, we're just kind of like used to. Not that it's okay by any means, but it's like, yeah, at some point that's going to be taken and it's going to be able to be put mainstream. And then white people are going to be able to drink it in when in the Black community, we're like, this is what we've been doing all the time. Like the easiest example to put it in is like voguing.
Yeah.
And like ballroom culture and all of that. And then you start to see even just like in this season of the second season of Pose, where they're like, oh yeah, well, Madonna has it now. So we're being brought mainstream because she's doing this. And now, you know, you have the episode where Damon had to teach like the Vogue classes and it was just like a line of white people. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, here we are. And that's like the clearest example of what some people are seeing. But it's such a norm, which is unfortunate that happens a lot. So yeah, you're right on the money with that.
And I'm like, I feel like the affectation of a sassy Black woman, like that's such a big like topic or could be a big point of contention within the cis gay male community. So I'm imagining responses being, well, this is like, oh, I'm not acting like this. This is how I am. And I'm trying to think through like, I think for a lot of people, if you really look deep down in your heart of hearts, like that's not true.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm curious to get kind of your reaction to those cis men, white men that may be defensive about the way they're presenting or talking.
It's like, it's okay to admit you were influenced by, a sassy Black woman or just Black women. Like that's fine. Like, I think the part of like, we love that you like, white people appreciate our culture in different ways. It still just goes back to, but the credit and the actual like economics tied to it, like appropriation is tied to kind of like just robbing, Black artists of things like Little Richard, passing away, and even just reading his backstory with stuff. He had to battle being definitely his sexuality and all that. And, being a religious man, but also, just racism and having somebody re-record his, some of his tracks, and they were white because it would be, more palatable or just, fine for a white audience. So I think we look at it and it's such an eye roll, but it's also just like wow, like you want the culture without the like blues of it. Like there's, we look at voguing and all that and we love it. It's fabulous, but it's like, we're not paying attention to like what their lives are outside of the ballroom. Like we don't care about that. And it's because we're not conditioned usually to like care about those things. And we have to like train ourselves to like look beyond, that and see like, wow, their life is shitty for like reasons that we all kind of contribute to. Like, yeah, like I think that's it, because I don't think it would even be like such a big thing. Like if, white people emulated our dances and we were all kind of on a level playing field, especially economically, it's just like, okay, yeah, this is American culture. We just mimic each other and things. But because historically and currently, like we don't get either credit or the finances behind it, it's kind of like it's like it's being robbed. Like it's just in front of your face too, where it's like you're not going to get credit for it or you're not going to get paid as much for that, but that's your original idea. So yeah, I think if
that's I think so meaningful to me and connections that I just made. So like that like in and of itself, emulating other people is great, but you're right. Like it is literally robbing. It is literally taking money out of the pockets of the people that created it. And it's not inherently wrong, but the context of, I think you said wanting to take the culture without like bringing along everything. Like if you're taking the culture, also BT dubs, everything else should come along with it. And it's taking the culture without, that's such a great way. And I think that's,
there's like somebody who said it better. It's like a R&B thing where it's like you want the rhythm but not the blues, like R&B, like you want the rhythm, not the blues. So, like I legit did have a boss when I moved out here who he was saying how much he loves Stevie Wonder, but he was like, but only the happy songs, like only the happy songs, like none of the protesting or just like any pro-Black Stevie Wonder songs, like no. He was just like, I just the happy stuff though, and it was just like okay. Like just happy Stevie, not any confrontational Stevie. So I just thought it was just
like the moment we start showing anything other than putting a smile on our face and making you laugh, smile, or watch a sport.
Yeah. Oh, slow down, Steve.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
If you can't have me at my shaving my head, hitting a car with an umbrella, you don't deserve me at my baby one more time.
And that's it. And that's on Brittany. That's on Brittany. It's on Brittany.
I have to find a way to make one Britney reference in every episode, so check that.
It's okay. I do the same with Beyonce, so I feel you.
Yeah. Nice. Favorite Beyonce song? Do you have one?
End of Time. But mainly the transition from Hold Up to Countdown when she does it live, though, because that's it's such a thing. I was like, Homecoming, she does it, and I Live, and I was very happy to finally have it on audio.
I think my favorite is Love on Top, mostly because I think every road trip, Mike and I play that, and I think, Mike, you like it just purely for the musical key change part.
She changes keys like 14 times, and it's amazing.
It's amazing. Like, every time I hear people do that at karaoke, and I stop and I'm like, ooh, you don't know what you signed up for. You're not ready. You're not ready. I was like, just wait. And people would be sitting, they'll be like, oh my God, Shana, like, they're playing it. And I'm like, ooh, but this person, we might have to call an ambulance after this performance because they forgot. They forgot because she waits till the end to switch. Yeah. And it's just like, well, here we are.
Just to flex at the end, like, this is towards the end of the song. I'm just going to take it higher. Like,
I have no transition. Speaking of Beyonce, Kris, tell me about your experience with kind of either racism, sexism, or just, being in the queer community.
Yeah. What's interesting, again, growing up in Southeastern Virginia, like, you're kind of indoctrinated into kind of this docile living of things. So you're not really aware of the things around you. Like, there was Confederate flags, but, people were nice. It's the South. Like, they have that locked in of like kind of shielding some things. It wasn't until I actually moved to California that I had experienced racism. Like, it's queer Disneyland being in the Bay Area, and it was awesome to be here as a queer person. But like, I had one of the first times I went to a club, I had a white guy come up to me, and he was drunk, but he was chatting, and then he got to, why does the Black community hate the queer community? And I was just like, puzzled, because it's just like, this is a white man sitting in front of me telling me like, why is your community oppressing our community? And I'm just like, hey, intersectionality. I also went to just other like gay clubs, and in the South, like, we don't have, like, it's one place you go, like, we all party together, there's no real separation. So I went into this club in downtown San Francisco, and I was already a little lit before I got in there, but I was in there just hitting my dances, hitting all the notes and moves and counts. And I just noticed that the men looked like annoyed and mad. And I was just like, it was like a Tuesday night. So I was just like, I don't know, it maybe worked for them. But I was just like weirded out, and I could just see that the energy was kind of off. And I had asked my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now, like, what's going on? And she was like, they don't like us partying in here as just women. So it was just like, oh shit, okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm gay. Like, I feel like gay spaces should be like base. Like, any queer space you go into, if you're queer, it's like safe, it's base. You can go in, it's all for all of us. So like, having that like sexism and just feeling that like that microaggression is new to me in that way. And then there's been just a couple other incidents in moving out to California where it's like, it's the most liberal place. They had Black Lives Matter signs on their lawn before it was in vogue and everything. Mm-hmm. But you also have like more of the like liberal racism where it's just like, oh, like that's new, but that's okay. Wow. Right. That is new. So yeah, I think most of my actual racist interactions actually happened in liberal areas where it's like, holy fuck, and you think you're in your bubble and you're just like, holy shit, it just happened. And that's how it happens. Like, it's just, so that's been kind of my interactions with it. And I just know now, like, it's just, it's intersectionality is knowing that you're walking out and there's 3 things that could like make people angry or act differently towards you every day. So you're just kind of on your toes about it. Like, there's no real bubble for us. So yeah,
that is interesting. Well, this is kind of speaks to a conversation we were having before y'all joined us, is about gay men's spaces. Like, how, like, is that okay for us to want spaces that are specifically for gay men? And
this is all in the context of there's a movement to change the name of Boys Town in Chicago to something that isn't male specific. Like the gayborhood should have a more inclusive name. And
Chicago. I was like, they're about to come over here and ruffle all the feathers. Yeah.
Chicago,
I am ready. I was like, where's the survey? Let me.
Well, I'm curious on your perspective. Well, we did make the distinction of like neighborhood is a little bit different, or entire area of a city is very different than, but I'm thinking specifically like a club or a like, I don't know what other, I mean, it's kind of gay clubs are the spaces I'm thinking of. But yeah, what's your take on gay men's spaces versus queer spaces?
I feel like the Zoomers, I love the Gen Zs and the Zoomers I love so much because they just don't even like labels. They just like to party together. And at our greatest, we do party well together. We do at our greatest. When just queer people come together, we're already the best partiers. Imagine combining forces. My God, the party of the year. So off that, we should want that. But as a queer woman of color, I want to go to a space where there's other queer people of color and everything. So I understand people wanting their own spaces to go to. I think the best, being in the event space, the best event copy and just kind of language around that has been just saying like this space is for specifically, queer people of color or trans people. Allies are welcome, but just like priorities given to that community. So it's like, if you're going to go to this space, understand who it's for, kind of thing. So I think that's kind of the way to do it. But I mean, I love partying with everybody. Like, we're a great time. So I'm on the fence. Like, I get it, wanting my own space, but hey, if we all come together, it's always a great party. Usually a good party. So
it's also really interesting because gay men have always had a plethora of spaces to be able to party in. And so when people would come into those spaces, it's really like, all right, cool. I mean, you could just go down the street and go to the next place if you needed to. Like, if you didn't like it, you have at least 3 or 4 more places that you could go to. But for like queer women specifically, or queer, trans, non-binary folks, there are only 16 bars right now that are specific to like queer women or non-binary or trans folk, like that open it up to that. And even if it's just like focusing on queer, those are the 16 spaces within the US.
I was going to ask, but in the entire country?
In the entire country, only 16.
Shit.
Yeah.
Only 16, and I've been to like probably over half of the list, but it's just like, it's like, so then when we see, it's been fun. When we see
like an Etsy count, like a map.
Right?
Like
I need to do that. I need to do that and check it off.
Yes. And drunk.
So map of my drunk places.
Yeah.
And so to think of that, where it's like gay men have always had a bunch of spaces to go to, and queer women have not had those spaces. So then it's like, I can see on the flip side where we're valuing those spaces a lot more because the behaviors are different. Like, this is why we work for an app that is specific just for LGBTQ plus women, trans, and non-binary folks. Like, there is a difference in the behaviors that are going to happen between Grindr and her. And there's going to be a difference between what the behaviors are going to be like at a queer women's focused bar and a gay men bar. Like, it's just completely different areas. And because there hasn't been that equalness or that amount when it comes to like queer women's spaces, then we're gonna fight for it and we're gonna protect it. And so while I'm like, yes, we should, I'm more so like, why don't we make sure that we have a bunch of these places for the LGBTQ plus community, and then host nights, just host nights that are specific in highlighting each of our community and be able to celebrate them and do whatever. But then it's still like, know that this is a safe space because you are here because of your identity in terms of the LGBTQ plus rainbow, like not because you're a gay man and so yes, this is your party spot, and because you're a queer, this is your party spot. Like, I would love to see that put together, but I can also see like on the one side, not going to be as sensitive to gay men because you guys have spaces and queer women do not, and so that's kind of where I handle that.
What I was thinking about as you're talking is the idea like nights and events, like gay men's fetish night, man, that's gonna be like, that is the spot for gay men. Like, that is like, and shit's gonna get crazy. But that's not the norm. But if the norm is every space is a gay men's space, like, that's not, which is what it is. Like, we don't need that. You can have your fetish night and then mostly like, and then have every other bar be like, everyone should be allowed. So you're helping me kind of, it's all, yeah, it goes back to like, it's all about the context of like, if there's one gay bar that says, hey, we're like gay men's bar, that's cool. But when it turns out, 90% of the bars are that, like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, even again, working in events, like, it's hard for, queer women promoters to even get like a fair deal, like with a night, like you guys do, but gay men and men drink more is kind of the rule of things. So it's just like, it's harder to try and throw like a women focused night. But hopefully that changes. I mean, again, we need our own spaces. And I hope that, people kind of, even if we have to crowdsource it, like we need our own spaces, but, I would love to work towards just all of us being okay to just go. Again, it should be base. It should be safe. Like, okay, queer bar, like, it's cool. I can go there. Oh, thank God, kind of thing. And it, be seen and be, okay and feel safe. So, we'll see. The Zoomers have it right. The Zoomers are
Zoomers are killing it.
Yeah, and they hate labels. Like my queer cousin who's 24, like, doesn't like the term lesbian. I don't even think she wants to be called queer. I don't know what she wants to be called, but I'm like, okay, cool. But I guess, like, I can't say anything to that. But the way they're growing up, they just don't see labels. They don't want to be, in any category. They just, they're on vibes. They're just on vibes, I guess. They're working off vibes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm convinced that generation is going to save us all.
Yeah, they are. They are. They absolutely are.
Almost out of necessity, because if they like want the world to be here and things to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're going to be like annoyed doing it, but they're going to do it. Like, I've seen protest memes. Like, they were like, I saw one meme where it was just like Gen Z or Zoomers, they can't ask the waitress for like more ranch, but they'll like spear a cop. And I'm like,
so accurate.
Literally spirit cop. Like, they could not give a fuck. Like, and I love them because, again, as a millennial, I know that we were, I hate the term woke, but aware, like, we were becoming aware. But I think the difference is Zoomers are having those difficult conversations, and they're being confrontational about these isms that shouldn't exist. Like, seeing the videos of them confronting their like racist parents. Like, I can't say my millennial counterparts did that. And not all of them, or not to the extent that the Zoomers are. And that is all the difference, are these conversations around, like, you don't know, like, people don't know what they're talking about. It's just recycled irrational fears. So Zoomers are like, no, we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to TikTok it too. Like, that's their thing. Like,
yeah.
Well, with Gen X, I think we were aware. We're just too bored to do anything about it.
I feel like y'all were just tired. Y'all were so tired. It was like civil rights. It's just, God, we're just so tired. I just want to have a nice, normal life. Like, yeah, because my sister, who's like 40, like we joke about it, and it's just like, she's like, God, I'm just so tired. Now she has her big house. She did all she wanted to do and all that, but she was just like, yeah, I just wanted to just have my own house and just, construct their own life. Y'all are tired.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah,
I get it.
You think boomers are exhausting now? They had a lot more energy when they were younger. We had to live through that shit.
Yes. But Gen X is going to say, I think Gen X down, because we are the generations that actually had like meaningful interracial like friendships and relationships. Like, we grew up around each other. Like, we grew up on Nickelodeon having like Hey Arnold and just Rugrats. Like, there was diversity in our cartoons. Like, it was unheard of to us, but maybe I thought too, a part of me thought when Obama was elected, like, I think we're good. Like, it was such a wonderful time, ignoring all of the tea partying and all that going on that was swirling. But I was like, no, not that I thought racism was over, but I was like, we're fine. Like, we're in the clear. Like, we're progressing. But, as history shown, it's like progress and then like a complete U-turn. So that's, we just have to be ready for that and just make sure it's like, it keeps going forward. So, yeah, but
as much when I think about like my parents' generation, I think about, and like without trying to excuse or justify or say anything's good or bad, I think about like their parents did not talk to them. It was silent. It was no emotion. It was do what you like, go to school and be like, and so the fact that my parents talked to me like a human and we could talk a little bit about emotions and they cared what I thought and felt is like, that to me was like, I'm hoping that each generation kind of makes a step in the right direction. And that's not, I know that's not fast enough and that doesn't help people right now, but I try to think about, you know, what's progressing with each generation.
Yeah, we'll get there. I think, yeah, we're you know, kind of indoctrinated in the social media age. We have the internet, which has helped immensely. Like, we just got to keep updating.
I mean, we solved it, right? Everything's great.
Yes. Yes. Obama elected this episode. Yep. Cool.
Yeah. We told him to come back. Come on back. Come on. We're going to welcome him back. Everyone. I think we're going to be fine, guys. The Zoomers have got us. Let's start talking to Zoomers and everything and just continue to learn and talk. And we're going to be fine and all that. So,
yeah.
I hope. I mean, I have to hope. So, you know.
Yeah. Boomers are going to die someday. Okay. Well, with that, should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We are going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest, but first, Shana Summers and Kris Chesson, tell us all about you and things and where people can find you.
Yes, absolutely. You can follow us on social media at Bad Queers Pod. We are on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We got the Facebook. But if you ever want to be featured on Bad Queers for our Am I a Bad Queer segment, where we answer advice about all different parts of the LGBTQ plus experience, from dating to coming out to just not understanding terms, anything that you've wanted to get off of your chest, you can email us at badqueerspod@gmail.com or DM us at badqueerspod. We love getting a DM, so feel free to join and let us give you some of our Bad Queers advice.
Absolutely check out their podcast, Bad Queers, in addition to doing all the stuff.
Well, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
All of our social media is at Gayish Podcast. We are on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We also have a Discord, Facebook group, probably more.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails. It's 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
I've gotten better at the end, now that we have our P.O. box at the end, not like my inflection goes up as if we're continuing after the email instead of sounding like it's the end and then you adding it on.
Oh,
so
good job, Kyle.
Work, me. Thank you. I just had to compliment myself for a bit. Okay. Gayest and Straightest.
Yeah, let's do our Gayest and Straightest. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Great. So the gayest thing about me this week, last night, I got back from... Okay, so first of all, I went and I had dinner at the Peters Matthews family residence. They were the ones that were on our Father's Day episode that just had the baby. And that was great. But I got home and piddly-pottered around here, and then I went out to the living room. I came back in, and there was a big red, nasty-looking, like almost like a blood spot on my bathtub. And I was like, that was for sure not there when I left. Who's been in my bathroom, and what the fuck is that? I lost my shit. I had the biggest gay conniption fit ever about, like, I went out to the living room to talk to my roommate. I'm like, Kris, you have to come and look at this thing. I don't know what it is. Somebody's been in here. Like, was there a murder in my bathroom? Anyway, I had stepped on a cherry, and it fell off the bottom of my shoe. And
you haven't had a cherry in so long. I didn't even know what it looked like.
You're right. And the straightest thing about me this week, on Friday, I drove my roommate around town because he needed to drop his truck off after it got broken into. And I would just the road rage. There was this pedestrian crossing the crosswalk, and I needed to take a left. And then there was this person to my right that was trying to take a left into traffic. And they were yelling and pointing at me out their window. And I was like, about to stop the Jeep and get out and confront this person. Like, why? I don't know why. Like,
you're like, today's the day.
Yeah.
I got time. I got time.
Yeah.
Like, just calm down. Anyway, road rage. I just think road rage is a straight guy thing.
Yeah. My straightest, going off of just things that just feel straight, is just in the morning I wake up and get my coffee, like just make my coffee. And for some reason, just the normalcy of the like, I don't know, I'm going to get up and drink coffee. Like I am a regular person and that's all I have to, like, and that's all I'm worried about right now. Just for some reason feels very straight to me. Feels carefree and just, I don't know. My gayest is, I was talking to one of my friends about dating, and he was like talking about, oh yeah, I'm on Hinge. He was talking about the straight dating apps. I don't even know if that's I think that's a straight dating app. Anyway,
I'm on Hinge. That explains why I'm not getting any luck on there.
Wow. The ladies love it. Everyone kind of knows about Grindr and I have no idea what the straight dating apps are or how to use them. So that's my gayest.
That's hilarious. I feel like I have like conflicting like gay straightish moments. Like I realized that I recently got a bike, so maybe y'all will tell me if this is straight or gay. But I recently got a bike because, you know, it's the thing to do in quarantine and all that. And I realized like I do like riding my bike, but I think part of like my favorite part about it is like walking down the steps to my apartment with like my bike on my shoulder. Like I just feel just like a fucking Lance Armstrong before the disgrace, like just like walking around like a king, just like I'm a badass, like it's and with the doofy helmet and everything. But I don't know, I just feel just so powerful just with it on my shoulder. So maybe that's straight gay. I don't know what it is,
straight.
But
that felt hella straight.
It feels straight for you. I feel
feels
like
very straight
too.
Even just the way that you expressed it felt. That was a lot of straight energy.
It's very Lance.
Straight energy.
It's very Lance led. So I feel like it probably is. Yeah. I guess my gayest moment was, and this is stupid, but it was dumb for me to look up the term femme daddy, and now my wife thinks that she is a femme daddy, which is, again, let me look up the term. She wants to be a top without the responsibility so bad. Like, she doesn't want to do. I looked something up and it said like top it's energy, and she's like, no, it is energy. But I looked up femme daddy. Let me look it up again.
A top without the responsibility.
Yeah,
is
you don't want to
favorite thing.
Like if you even if we did this, you would last all of 90 seconds of thrusting on that, or your stroke. Like, what does your stroke game even look like? And she's like, I don't know. Like, it's just, and I was like, no, there's an art to it. Like, there's responsibilities that you have to.
Gay men call that a verse bottom.
Is that okay?
So it's like it depends on who's speaking. Is it gay women or gay men? That's it.
Yeah. If it's on Scruff, then yeah.
Let me wait. Femme daddy, looking it up.
That's a new term for me too.
Let's see. What's a good one? It's basically a femme woman who can rock a skirt, lipstick, and other girlish accoutrements. Wait, I said that wrong.
Oh man.
Who personifies a daddy style in their relationships.
Kris just put on her strong art or Urban Dictionary voice, because that is she expresses all of our definitions.
Yes, but it's just she's like, no, that is me. I feel seen. Like I can wear the skirt and the lipstick, but like the daddy or the top energy is me. And I'm just like, I mean, okay, like no responsibility with her top energy, like no real responsibilities. I think it's just like.
There was last week or recently there was a Washington State Patrol woman who stopped a car going the wrong way on the freeway by running into it, like intentionally creating a car crash to stop this person. And the State Patrol tweeted out the story, and somebody commented on Twitter underneath of it. It was getting a lot of likes or whatever, that she had big clit energy.
Yes.
Yes. Big clit energy.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, no, but that is it. That is the bar.
I thought we were like getting to the like wrapping up, but who knew this is where all the good stuff was going to be.
Amazing.
All right, Shana, what's up?
Oh man. Okay, so I'm going to start with my straightest moment. So I feel like my straightest moment was even though it is like a very queer thing to do, but I'm still like the story I was telling you earlier, where I actively just went on a jog with my girlfriend, with her dog. And it's just like, you don't see, the whole time I was out and we were jogging, it was very specific. It felt very parent-like.
Yeah.
And you could tell like the roles that we took, where it was like, who was the dad, who was the mom in it, where it's like, she's running and then she's like, oh no, he slowed down a little bit. We have to stop. And I'm all like, hey, how is he going to get better? How is he going to get in shape if we're not moving faster? And like things like that. And like, we're back and forth. And I was just like, wow, this is what I see in every straight couple whenever they go out with their dog and treat it like a child. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't understand. And I could not.
Yeah.
I was like, how is he going to get in shape? Like, if you want to run and do all of this stuff, you're going to make me go work out with you. We're trying to get the dog to work out with you. How is he going to get in shape?
Day one for him doing that. Like, and you're just...
It was day 2, but it's fine.
All right.
That's
like the same thing like when you're trying to get your kid to play a sport that they don't want to play, but you're just like, you need to be better, Henry. I don't know why it's Henry, but...
that's like...
That's the game, Henry.
It's like, this kid has only just heard about like what football was like yesterday, It's like...
Gotta get better.
That's like
that was it.
Home Depot Saturday straight, I think.
No, for the queer women, that's very gay.
Oh my God.
Home Depot was our spot. Home Depot was our spot,
It's Christ.
So that happened, and then my gayest moment, which I was actually extremely proud of myself for, and I apologize for whoever is editing your sound when it comes to this. So I was talking to my straight best friend, and we were talking about her relationships, and she said something along the lines of like, this guy who she had been talking to, they were supposed to hang out that night, and so he was going to text her later, so she went to hang out with one of her other good friends, and he never texted, and so until like late, and then he was all like, oh yeah, like come and hang out with me and do whatever, and she was like, no. She was like, I don't have time for you. You need to be respectful of my time. Like, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I was like, but you are wasting my time. And I busted this out during our call with our faith. You couldn't tell what the sound was. I was like, she did that, and I pulled that out of nowhere and said, yes, queen, you better tell him about that time because you're trying to be respected.
Have you been waiting to do that?
I've had it in my hand for like 10 minutes. I was ready. I was ready.
It's a fan. It's a fan that says yes, right? Yeah, okay.
It does.
A black fan with big pink letters on it. It's beautiful.
Big pink letters with my emojis that have the rainbow sunglasses and all of that. So yeah, I had it sitting right here as I was FaceTiming her, and I did that, and she lost it, and I was so proud of myself for the timing.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's touching and beautiful.
I was like, I feel like everybody who was listening, if they didn't know like what that sound was immediately, like
then they're straight.
Like, this is the test. This is the test. They need to do that on like the radio shows when they're like, oh yeah, you win like $1,000 for this. They need to do that sound. The gays would come flocking and be like, we're ready. We're ready.
Well, that's it. This has been Gayish. A special thank you to Shana Summers and Kris Chesson from the Bad Queers podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. So great. This is great.
And thank you to Saoirse Ronan for, again, making me question my gayness.
Yeah, and being the most difficult person to Google. Thank you, everyone.
All right, that's it. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. See you next week.
See you next week.
Cliffhanger.
I know, right? I'll get there. Just come to me last. I'll have it.
I'm ready to go. Look, Kris is like mine slowly. I'll tell mine slowly. It's like ordering slowly. Where I'm like, okay, well, I'll stall for you. It's okay.